Hi, I'm Bob Onsher, Senior Editor with CE Pro Magazine, and today I am speaking with David Kroll from KEF and Stephanie Scola from KEF. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk about the new KEF Demonstration Cinema in the Music Lounge in your New Jersey headquarters. You put a lot of design and a lot of performance elements into the cinema to showcase your product line and to help support your dealers in the local area. So I would like to discuss this with you. Okay, my first question, you recently announced the demonstration cinema. Did you build this space to showcase your products and to help your dealers in the Metro New York area specifically?
We built it with a couple of purposes in mind. First is to showcase our products and to show the level of performance that can be achieved in a properly designed, properly installed system. So we have a wide range of systems from more entry level up to ultimate, and each was done in a lifestyle. This is not looking like a retail showroom or like a sound room. This looks like what you would install in your home, you know, should you have a really nice penthouse somewhere in New York or London. The people we're having through are kind of twofold. We are using it for dealer trainings, and we bring them through the products. We talk about not just KEF, but we do a lot on room acoustics, system design, choosing amplification, to really allow them to be able to achieve installations of at this level. And if they're already at this level, maybe some tricks and other things they can do to hone their state of the art. But it also becomes a place in which dealers who have the appropriate clients doing projects at this level can bring them through to show them what can be achieved. Today, not a lot of dealers have $400,000, $500,000 theaters, $30,000 theaters set up in their showrooms for their clients to buy. And while some clients are perfectly willing to take advice, there is some segment that, especially when they're spending large sums of money, wants some idea of a benchmark of what they're going to have when it's done. And even during COVID, we had, not at the volume we will now that COVID has sort of lifted its ugly head, but we did have periodic dealer and consumer visits. Interestingly enough, it's not just from the greater Metro New York, New Jersey market. We had people fly in from Florida. We had someone take a limo down from Connecticut with their client. We had an airplane pilot deadhead in from Seattle and see the theater and see what he wanted to do, and then went back to his dealer in the Pacific Northwest to buy it. So even during COVID, we had people traveling in to see from a distance. We expect there'll be a lot more of that. Because we're about 45 minutes from Newark, when someone's in New York doing business or someone's transiting New York, New Jersey on a flight, it's not a very difficult journey for them to come down and see it. And so for the dealers out there, you know, if you have the appropriate client, you know, we are more than happy to work with you to give the ability for your clients to see what's possible.
Okay. A major theme of the system is your work with THX, and not only the design of the space, but your use of your THX certified loudspeakers. What are the benefits of THX in a home cinema environment?
Well, I've been doing this for quite a few years, you know, going back to the days when people would go out to the Lucasfilm ranch for THX training. I did get THX training. Unfortunately, it wasn't there. And a lot of those design concepts, design precepts have stood me in very good stead, both in my career as a custom installer and now as a manufacturing building products for custom installers. And so when we were designing the theater room, a lot of the acoustic principles, a lot of the design principles come right out of what THX teaches you in their certification training. Let's deal with the first reflection so that the vocals are very clear and that the steering on stage is very precise. Let's deal with the slap echo within the room so that the front sound stage here sounds like it's in front of you and not behind you. Using relatively neutral colors so that the colors around the screen are not influencing the video. Many others, from levels of background noise to how the heating and ventilation was designed so that we could get a very comfortable environment without hearing the whoosh and the air ducts kicking on. So all of these things are based on precepts that THX preaches. Now, when it comes to products, KEF is one of the few companies in the speaker realm that is fully tier 1 and has a very robust, not just design engineering staff, but we actually have researchers who do work into the physics behind how a lot of this works. So we know our products stack up, the reviews show it, the customer feedback shows it, that if you're spending $10 or $20 or $30,000 on a KEF loudspeaker, or $50, $60, $70,000 on a loudspeaker system, the performance is going to exceed the value of the price paid. And that's important to a custom installer. So many custom installers are selling systems blindly based on recommendation, and their final payment is only taken when customer is satisfied. And that is actually, over the past decade, had somewhat of a negative impact on our industry, because a lot of installers sell out of fear. Let me sell a less expensive thing if I don't trust it, because I'm more comfortable they'll be happy if they spend less. Where the proper attitude is, pick the appropriate equipment and sell more expensive things to the same number of people, but choose equipment and put it together in such a way that they're going to be happy at those higher price points. Now, one of the things that we came across is, because so many of these dealer to consumer transactions are blind, based on recommendation, not based on demonstration, not based on benchmarking, we felt strongly that having the THX certification would give the dealer the comfort that it's not just KEF telling you how good the product is, but THX's rigorous certification process would guarantee that that product is going to perform to a very high level. And that would also give the dealers, consumers, and customers a greater degree of comfort that they're spending vast sums. They've never heard it. It's a blind purchase. But THX, who is a known and respected entity, you see it, in how many movies that you watched in the days when we went to an actual theater, that it gave them the comfort level. And so we did it because we really felt it would assist our dealers in the process of selling expensive things.
Just to supplement what Dave just said too, I have been lucky enough to kind of be in the background while we've had guests through. We've had small groups come through the space within the last year and a half. And what's interesting is a lot of consumers will come in, accompanied by the dealer. And the consumer knows or thinks they know what they want based on just what they know. And a lot of what they know, I don't think they really grasp how much else is out there in terms of what can be done from especially a built-in system. So when they show up, they think they know what they're getting, but then when they actually sit down and experience not only the theater, but then also some of the other areas in the music lounge itself, where we have the ability to showcase a variety of different levels of audio performance, what they originally expected or wanted or thought they wanted, they are blown away to the point where they want it. You know, we've had a few people coming even into the theater and say, okay, can you copy and paste this in my basement? And the
Yeah.
dealer is like, wait a minute, I thought you just wanted a couple of sets of $300 in ceilings. And the guy's like, no, I mean, I didn't even know I could even have this. So that, I mean, just for me, I mean, working with Dave from start to finish on this project, I'm blown away by the reaction from end users that get to sit in here and they're willing to invest right now. So now's the time to bring the theater home, you know?
We had
And-
one, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say that really validates the power of the demo and how important it is for people to experience systems designed to such a high level, like the demonstration cinema that you have.
And that's why, you know, we are not a retail store. This is not open to every single person who would like to come sit down and listen to it. You know, we prefer to have them come in with a KEF dealer, and we need to, and we do vet to make sure that they're not just buying a pair of speakers, but this is really, you know, they need help with a conceptual project. But you're right, we recognize in today's day and age, the financials do not work for every dealer to be able to make this kind of investment. The cost of real estate, the cost of everything else has gone to the part where it's just not feasible. So that is one of the main thoughts that when this room was built, was to leverage our financial ability to support our dealers and let them achieve their dreams and their customers achieve. I want to follow up on something Stephanie just said. When the pandemic first hit, the first thing we sold was a lot of powered speakers to go into people's offices because, well, I can expense it or write it off because it's for my Zoom call, but now I can listen to really good audio. And I'm very glad that's an area we've made some big investments in because that happened. Another area we saw with people upgrading their name brand exercise video equipment so that they could have high quality audio and really feel the wind rushing by as they rode. And then we saw entry level home theaters being bought. And I told you in the pre-ramble, I've been working from home for 16 years now. I'm well versed in a very important call, and my good as gold children suddenly bursting in, fighting for the first time in a week at that one moment when I really couldn't afford to have them do it. Or the dog really telling me that he's got to go. And the world is experiencing this. People are just sort of laughing as kids run into their arms as the dog comes into the room. It's the new reality. But one of the first things we saw happen was investment in modest level home cinemas. I needed entertainment for my children. My wife and I are not going out anymore. Okay. I'm single. I can't take her to the movies. I'm going to bring the movies home. And so we saw this one level of package start going out the door, and you can tell dealers buy by the project. So you see the Atmos speakers in there, you see the subwoofers in there, you know what they're doing. And then quickly what happened is the dollar value of those projects started ramping to the point where it almost became exponential. Because as people realized in month 2 and 3 and 4, and by June and July, I'm going to be home for a long time. And even when things get back to normal, they're not quite going to get back to normal. So suddenly their willingness to invest in this went up significantly. And that's something that our dealer base needs to take advantage of. Right now, that money for that European or Outer Banks Vacation is available to go into the home cinema. And other things that we were doing, like going out to eat once a week or going to the movies, that money was available and is available for the audio system in the home cinema. I don't think that's going to stop. I think that will plateau for individuals of a certain wealth level. But dealers should be taking advantage of this opportunity to radically increase revenue with the same amount of installation and the same amount of customers, or same number of customers.
This was kind of a perfect segue then, David. How do these the KEF products, including the THX certified products, support the current trend of immersive audio in formats like DTS-X and Dolby Atmos?
It's actually ideally suited for it, and to a little degree, I know there was something we wanted to talk a little about our KEF technology in a moment.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I need to bring that one forward on you,
Okay.
because that'll explain it beautifully. And I can supply some slides to you that you can post with this that really illustrates this to the audience well. KEF's core technology is called UniQ, and effectively the high frequency driver is at the acoustic center of the mid-range. Now, to visualize what this means, think about water, because water waves and sound waves behave very much the same way. And when waves touch each other, they either add or subtract. So think about dropping two pebbles in a bucket, and as the waves propagate outward from those two pebbles, where they hit each other, you're going to see taller and shorter waves, just like you do at the beach. That's what happens in loudspeakers when the high frequency tweeter is located near the mid-range. When you're standing directly in front of that loudspeaker, the effect is very minimal. But the further you move off axis from that loudspeaker, the more the impact is heard and more the tonal balance from each speaker changes. In UniQ technology, because the highs and the mids are propagating from the same point in space, those waves are propagating outwards in sync with each other, and so you don't have addition and subtraction. As a result, you can get close to between 140 and 160 degrees of off-axis response before you can hear a perceptible change in tonal balance. Why? Well, we've all had the experience of going into a high-end or being a high-end audio store and listening to some crazy expensive speaker, and they sit you dead center in the middle and point the two at you so that you hear the sense of depth and sense of imaging. Bob, you and I have been at many dealer events over the years where, oh, Bob's here, let's put him in the king seat. Let's put him right there, right? What about all the other poor schlubs sitting behind you and to the left and right of you? They're not getting the same experience because their angle to the two speakers is different, so therefore the tonal balance they're getting from the two speakers is different. With UniQ, as long as you are between the left and the right loudspeaker, you're hearing the same thing from both. So there is no king seat. You get that same three-dimensional sound stage, that same sense of depth in any of the seats going front and back and going left and right. Every seat is effectively the king seat. Now, when we invented this technology in '88, it was for stereo three-dimensional imaging. We had no idea how ideal this would be for side and rear channels of Atmos, okay? But this is what it's proven to be. And I'll give you some examples. You generally want your left, center, and right speaker in a home theater to be, in line with the center of the screen, the center, dead center on the screen. And just as if we were in a room together and you closed your eyes and I got up and walked, you could point at me and follow me with your finger. You know, that's what's kept us alive in the woods all these years. And you can do that because you're hearing the same tonal balance of my voice. Sorry about that, by the way. No matter as I walk around the room. Okay. If you stuck a piece of cotton in one ear, so you're hearing different things from the two ears, you could no longer follow me. That's why in a conventional loudspeaker system, there is a king seat. With UniQ from the left, center, and right speaker, it doesn't matter where you are sitting on that couch, you're hearing the same frequency spectrum from every speaker. Therefore, your sense of motion across the screen is just as good in the back row in the back right corner as it is dead center in the front row. So for theater, it's almost ideal. This UniQ also gives you some design freedoms. Some of the conventional wisdom on speaker placement is based on speaker behavior, not on ideal placement, i.e. put the side speakers directly to the side of people's heads with the tweeter at their head level. Okay, what happens to the person sitting to their left on the right speaker when your head is between them and the speaker? Okay, with UniQ, as you can see, what we did in our theater here is we've raised the side speakers up. Now, everyone in that row is hearing the same tonal balance, no matter where they are, with nothing blocking them.
Dave, you're referring to your background, right?
I'm referring to my background.
Right? And I just
The KEF Music Lounge. So you all get a view of the music lounge there. Similar for rear. Now, this becomes super important with immersive audio. I urge everyone to go to Dolby's website and look at the setup guides for the Atmos loudspeakers. You will see that in almost every diagram, they're showing a single row of seats. That's not very family friendly, right? Kids are in front on a beanbag chair. You know, the teenagers or the adults are on the couch. Someone's standing behind the couch, you know, with a drink that they don't want the kids to see. Okay, so according to the Dolby guide, you're not going to get good Atmos there. Here is why. The person in the rear row is hearing a different frequency spectrum from the rear speaker and the front speaker. So therefore, your ability to calculate mentally the height position is not good in the rear row or the front row as it is the center row where you're at the same angle to both speakers. So Dolby, knowing this, recommends one row of seats because of the limitation of conventional loudspeaker technology. Because the UniQ gives such wide off-axis response, sorry, I saw Bales come in for a second, Stephanie. Speaking of dogs, because it gives such wide off-axis response, you are hearing the same height information from the front, middle, and rear row. And in fact, I've seen some demonstrations of Dolby Atmos at CEDIA with 7 or 8 rows, and that was using KEF speakers to achieve it. There was a demonstration of Atmos at the ISE show in Europe a few years ago in almost a 70-seat ballroom, and which is the size of a real movie theater, and it was using 4 KEF ceiling speakers in that environment to show off Atmos. Those were not KEF demonstrations, but other industry entities showing off Atmos using KEF to achieve multiple rows. In the theater behind me, one of the demos we love to start with is from The Greatest Showman, where she's on stage singing Never Enough. And it is about as simple a demonstration as you can do. There's not explosions. There's not a lot of action and motion to distract the listener. You have just a few very simple elements, and that is one of the hardest, most difficult demos to pull off. Because when it's exploding around you and it sounds exciting, oh, it's cool, listen to it, wow. When we do that demonstration, you can see the center speaker in our theater is dead center at the center of our acoustic screen. Our left and right speaker, because we want to show off the speakers, are just outside of the screen. We could have also put them behind the perf screen. Excuse me.
Like that. I like that mug.
You like that mug? I think I got my daughter's mug.
It's okay.
There we go.
Not today. Continue. Go ahead.
She is singing on stage, and the bottom of the stage kind of comes down to the bottom of the screen. And we've done this demonstration for some very knowledgeable dealers and industry executives. And they haven't paid attention to what the speakers are yet. They've just been sat down and given a demo. And the first question they turn and ask us is your center channel down by the floor? And the reason they ask that is the height control in this cinema is so good that the orchestra, which is in the pit below her feet, is actually depressed below the screen level. You hear the orchestra coming up to you like it would if you were sitting in the 4th or 5th row, with her singing above you, and you can hear that distinction because of the control of the height. And people in the know immediately assume we have a speaker down there to pull it down there. No, it's the Atmos speakers pushing it down with very precise control over the tonality, so your brain and your ears are able to process it and put it in the correct position. So that was a little bit long answer to your question, which the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, we did seem to cover two of my questions, so I got a 2-for-1 there. I want to follow up on those questions now with this question. Can integrators mix and match KEF in-room and architectural loudspeakers to create various systems to meet a range of homeowner needs?
Absolutely. Again, all of our engineering is done by our engineering team in the UK. We are also tier 1 in that virtually everything KEF, from the bits and the bobs, is built in our own factory, or one of our own 3 factories. We have incredible control. We are one of the largest driver manufacturers in the world. And this gives us huge amounts of control over the product and the process. The same engineering team that is designing the $250,000 muons is doing the $700 and $300 in ceiling speakers, and the $2,000 or $5,000 bookshelf and floor standing speakers. And they're using the same UniQ core technology that's used virtually everywhere in our line. So tonality, everything KEF is timber matched. When you go from a lower cost product to a more expensive product, you may get a higher level of detail and resolution to improve your sense of imaging, your sense of depth, the spaciousness, but the tonality is the same. When you move from a small speaker to a larger speaker, you may get the ability to play louder or have deeper low frequency, but the tonality is maintained. So it's very common for people to use our flat T series under a TV over a mantelpiece, and then bookshelf floor standing in-wall speakers to the left and the right in the wall or in the casework, and still maintain a perfect front sound stage. So we really give the installers the freedom to pick and match the form factor that is going to work perfectly with the industrial design of the room, the look and feel, the decoration of the room, and yet still achieve the end result that will impress their customers. You know, to that end, this room in our music lounge looks like a theater. There is another room that's about 40 by 45 feet. It looks like a large loft space, and it has segmented areas, a bar with a home, kind of a media room, home theater in a bar setting, an office, and a living room for high-end 2-channel. And we mix and match throughout, and we often take people on a KEF journey from one model to the other. And as they move up, they're hearing the improvements for their money, but they all sound like KEF loudspeakers.
Right. The other thing too with the space is that, you know, like your home, you can't just start moving walls, and sometimes the furniture that you have, you know, some of it just needs to stay and there's nothing you can do about it. So we wanted to show, you know, that not every room is always going to be square or rectangular or the perfect shape. You're going to have situations where a room doesn't have that side wall. And so how do you treat that? How, and what can you do with KEF products? And thankfully, you know, that UniQ technology really allows you freedom of placement across all the lines, whether it be floor standing or in ceiling. And then we also have some special application stuff that'll get you, you know, through quite a jam, you know, if you cut the ceiling and you see that there's something up there that you can't, you know, we have some really super thin stuff that can fit in that space as well. So that's really what the whole place is meant to show, especially for our dealers, not only at a training level, but also having guests through and customers through so they could see, you know, there's a lot that you can do no matter what design you have to play with.
Yeah. And this project very much was like the process. I mean, this looks like an expensive residence, and the process of creating it was very much the same process as creating an expensive residence. Okay. You had me on the side of wanting to optimize, you know, performance and showcase the audio. We had an interior designer involved, who was very much involved with Stephanie in choosing something to make it a very comforting and a very welcoming environment. People walk into the room and immediately say, you know, can I move into this place? And we joke because over the theater, there's about a 10-foot height clearance over the theater. And we keep telling ourselves we want to build a bedroom up there and stay there when we come to KEF from outside, as opposed to staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
You know, really, it's like, you know, wouldn't be that much more difficult. And we had an architect involved because we had structural issues. This was an existing industrial building with some structural walls and other things that had to be dealt with. We had to deal with the sprinkler system and all kinds of fire code and handicapped issues. So we had the balance of the designer, the contractor, the interior designer, the audio guy, okay, the homeowner, Stephanie, effectively, and then we also partnered in the creation of the theater with Acoustic Innovations. And so we had yet another element coming into this in terms of fabrication. And in this case, the interior designer was leading on what materials and what overall feel with Stephanie, because we wanted a comfortable space. And not that it wouldn't have been otherwise, but one thing we've learned is that when things have a very strong design element to them, meaning my theater looks like a opera house, my theater looks like the Starship Enterprise, a lot of times a homeowner will come into that and can't visualize that in their home. Some of our speakers can be gotten in bright red or lime green and crazy colors. And we tell dealers, you don't really want to display the crazy colors because the homeowner might say it's polarizing and not wanted to then buy the simple colors. But if you display it in a black and a white or a simple finish, they can then, if they like the crazy colors, lay it on top. That was one of the design goals here. Make the theater room very comforting, very neutral, very on point with today's trends in design and architecture. And then if someone wants it to look like the bijou, they're able to lay that on top of this and do it. But we wanted a skin here that any homeowner could come in and understand the comfort level and use this as kind of the blank canvas to create from. And so we had, this other party doing the fabrication in conjunction with the interior designer, working with us on the acoustics. This was truly just a project like you would do as you're doing someone's home, with all of those back and forth. And so one of the things that's been really beneficial to homeowners is to understand, what they can achieve in their comforting environment.
Okay. Both of you have alluded to through phrases like industrial design and interior design. You referenced colors, David. The element of industrial design, and I think that's one of the hallmarks of the KEF product line. How does the company go about developing its industrial design for its various array of products? And in turn, how do these industrial designs complement the performance of the KEF product line?
That's a great question. A lot of companies there's a couple of very well-known within the industry contract industrial designers who do work for multiple companies. KEF chose a different approach with design. We actually have a team of industrial designers who are on staff and part of the ethos of everything that we do. Additionally, for certain special projects like the Muon, like the Blade, we will work with a very well-known industrial designer whose taste and style complements what we're trying to achieve. That industrial designer then works with our engineering team. So our engineering team will give them the parameters of what we need to achieve in terms of volume and shape, rigidity, and they will work with the industrial designer to pick clever materials, colors, shapes, to then make that into something that actually is very design forward and fits with the trends of what's happening. The Muon, which is in a very special process of a heated and vacuum formed aluminum, was done because the engineers said we need this particular shape to achieve acoustically what we do, and the industrial designer was then able to choose materials. Same with blades, same with other things. So our products tend to be very friendly to what is then going to work with the interior design of your house. Okay. We have a line of speakers that is covered in fabric, and the fabrics we chose match right up with what you're seeing on fabrics coming out of the Milan furniture shows. Okay. We've been very on point with the wood finishes. These warm walnuts are coming back again and moving away from these exotic striped rosewoods. And we were one of the first to begin offering kind of these warm walnut tones within our speakers. So it's directly in the ethos, and it's part of the process from the beginning, and it works with our engineers to complement what they're doing as opposed to fight against what they're trying to achieve. So it's just in our ethos, it's in our DNA.
Stephanie and David, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to speak to me about the demonstration cinema, the music lounge, and the KEF product line, including the THX certified products. Where can dealers go to learn more about the KEF product line?
If they're an existing KEF dealer, They can contact their regional manager, who will be happy to talk with them about the music lounge and about the products. If they're not a KEF dealer, we have a concierge site where they can go to give us enough information that we can have the appropriate person reach out and talk to them. Stephanie, where is the what is the link to the KEF concierge?
It is at yourservice.kefamerica.com.
So at your service.
.kefamerica.com.
And right there's a link which says, I want to become a dealer. That doesn't make you a dealer, but it gets us enough information to have the appropriate person reach out and contact you and talk to you more.
Stephanie and David, thank you for taking time out of your day. Have a good rest of the day, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Take care. All the best.